right, welcome to Primos for Life, the wrestling podcast made for the fans, by the fans. As always, I'm Eddie, El Niño Baque. We got Ariel, the Ecuadorian Dream Bisueta, and we are your self-proclaimed, undisputed co-host tag team champions of the world. And in today's episode, we bring on super fan Brianna Rosado, and we jump into a heated discussion about the landscape of wrestling. We discuss Wrestlemania and our individual predictions and so much more. So sit back, grab a snack, and let's get it on. What's up, Primo?
What's going on, dude? What's poppin'?
Nothing much, man. Just living the dream, brother. Wait a minute. I gotta ask you, bro. Did you get the package?
The package came in, and for those who have the ability to see when we're recording, let me give a little update as to the package that I received.
Yeah. A little preview. What?
Right.
Bro,
That's right. Primos for life, and then hang on, because I gotta move my seat. Probably duck down a little bit. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, yeah. If you get up a little bit, we could move a little bit more. There you go. What? That is fire.
For those who can't see, it is a Primos for Life shirt with our logo and the Ecuadorian Dream written on the back.
There we go, man. I figured, let's get a prototype out. Let's just see how it feels. Just wear it out a little.
I dig it already, and the extra large is a perfect fit right now. And as it washes, even better. Like, great.
There you go. Shout outs to Amanda for that
one.
Thank
you very much.
She told me.
Yeah, that's what she said. She was like, "Yeah, you're gonna need the extra large. This way, it doesn't look like a youth large by the time I wash it."
Yeah, for real. All right, all good, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Of course. We just, we're like we say every week, we're expanding, and we're just trying to, take baby steps into the right direction, and that's another step forward. So I'm excited.
That's it. Thank you, man.
But
you're right.
I wanted to tell you, great reviews and great feedback from all our listeners and everybody's been saying that.
Awesome.
Having our lifelong fan Rich on the show, great conversation. Everybody loved it. Everybody got excited. So much so that we're actually going to run that back. We're going to do it again. Not with Rich, though. Shout outs to Rich. Thank you so much for being the first, for opening the door, the forbidden door.
Yeah, forbidden door. I mean, he's a day oneer, right? He's been here for all the episodes, so
right.
It's that day one-ish.
This time we have another fan of the podcast, and she will be basically joining us on today's conversation, just generally about the landscape of wrestling at this point in time, and just pick her mind on where she thinks Wrestlemania leads at this point, So right. I feel like it'd be great to get new perspective and just see what other fans think, maybe something that we missed, or maybe something
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have a fresh perspective, something that's besides me and you, so have a different viewpoint, and that's great. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to picking her brain and saying just exactly what she thinks is going on and how she feels about everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so let's get to it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to introduce, for the first time ever on the podcast, Miss Brianna Rosado. There she is.
Yeah. Hello. Hey.
Hey.
How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. We're looking forward to this conversation. I just finished telling Ariel that you have a wonderful wrestling mind, and you have tremendous perspective on the product, no matter which topic, comes to mind. And we definitely want to get your thoughts on certain things,
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to open up my mindset on anything you want to talk about. I love wrestling.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Been part of my life since I was like 5 years old. So A long time.
Okay. Okay, well, on that note, right? So normally, what we normally ask all guests on the show is we ask what was their first memory or of like wrestling in general. Like, what was the first match, pay per view, the wrestlers involved, anything that you could recall that you saw and you were like, oh man, like I'm hooked. This is what I'm gonna be investing in. You know what I mean? And like for me, just to kind of give an example, we always give this example. It was Bad Blood '97, Undertaker Kane, right? Like the day. I'm sorry, Undertaker Shawn Michaels, the debut of Kane. Tremendous that pay per view, that image of Kane coming out is just burned into my mind. You know, Ariel has a more touching family story of watching lucha libre for the first time with his brothers, and just
My
like beautiful guy
grandfather, when we
moment.
were growing up, my grandfather would have Lucha Libre on, and me and my brother would be watching them with him. And so
Right.
when wrestling, we started finding WWE and stuff like that, we just kind of gravitated towards it. So yeah,
So yeah,
Yeah, it's a
what
very,
was
so
Brianna?
that's what we
it's
want to
a,
know in terms of, was there a particular match, a particular moment? Was it something like me that was an overall just kind of like a story kind of a thing? Like what particular thing, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a long gradual build. But where do you kind of feel you can, best kind of pinpoint
well,
for the question?
my earliest memory is, and it's funny that you mentioned Kane because my earliest memory of wrestling has always been when Kane unmasked himself for the first time. I just feel like, because I was so young and it scared me. So, like, that's always, yeah, it was obviously around. My family's always been into it. But that's like the first memory that's really ingrained in my mind. And I think it's because it kind of traumatized me. But in regards to, being pulled in, that definitely wasn't it. But, my family used to host pay-per-view parties at our
Oh
house,
wow.
so it was always around. And, you know, you can only avoid something for so long if it's everywhere you turn. So ultimately, I ended up sitting down watching it. I remember back um, when the DX reunited, that summer and everything. Like, that's probably where I remember a consistent basis.
Okay.
But definitely my earliest memory was being scarred and hiding behind a radiator when Kane unmasked himself for the first time.
Those the old school metal radiators that
Yeah.
got to like 1,000,000,000 if you touch them. Those metal joints. Oh no.
Yeah. So I was hiding behind that because I was so scared.
Eesh.
But yeah, it
Wow.
was definitely an interesting, like, this is wrestling, right? And you didn't think wrestling could be something like that, something so scary or so drawing. And to have a storyline like this, that definitely helps to bring you in. It adds layers to it. It's not just simple, let's go to the ring and see who can pin each other first. There's more to it. And I
Right.
think that's more of the appeal.
Absolutely. The
Right.
storytelling
And
aspect. Yeah, of course.
yeah, and that's like the beauty of it. And it's so funny too, because I think that's more like a tribute to Glenn Jacobs, Kane, of how good he was, right? Because the image that's burned into my brain is him ripping the cage door from the Hell in a Cell off the hinges, and similar to you, it was the way he turned at RVD when he revealed his face for the first
Yeah.
time. Like, he is such a good, I don't want to say actor, but he was just a good entertainer, that he
Right.
really took so much pride in the craft. And that makes me happy to hear that we're not just watching, your typical backyard wrestling. We're watching, quality product. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. That makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, to your and Brianna's point, it's the storytelling.
Mhm.
It's that moment was so big because of the story that had been built to that point of him burning down his parents' house and having to do with the death sentence, and him being, really scarred and this and that. So the storytelling there definitely, accentuated that point and brought it there, which, what's made it, I think, also very, very memorable.
Mhm.
And at such a young age, like, you don't understand that it's storytelling. You think everything
Right.
is actually going on and all of this stuff has happened. So, shockers happen when you start getting older. You start looking into the backstage stuff. Kane and Undertaker not being actually brothers. Like, oh, that's shocking factors. But especially like I said, when you come into it so young, you have this idea that everything that's going on, that's being told to you, is real. And I think that's what makes it even better, is because you can put a product out there and try to make people believe it, but if it doesn't go over, then you didn't do your job. So the fact that at the time it was so compelling that it made you believe it, that's good storytelling.
It's funny. I forget what show it was, but it was a show on Hulu. I forget who it was, and I forget the name of the actor. But he was explaining wrestling to like a group of people, and he explained it in a way of like, basically there's like 3 stages of grief, or like of processing wrestling. It's like, when you first get exposed to it, it's like, oh, it's real and it's amazing and it's probably the greatest thing you've ever seen. And then the second phase it's of grieving, is like you find out it's fake. And then you get so upset that you got bamboozled by their trickery of their acting, or whatever it is. And then the third stage is acceptance, right? Like you realize that it's fake, but you appreciate and love the art. And then once you get to that point, then it's limitless at that point, because then you just watch,
you can settle in and enjoy.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep,
I
exactly.
agree with those 3 stages. The only thing I don't agree with is that word. You find out it's fake. It's definitely not, and that's the thing, and you guys probably agree. Hearing that word as diehard wrestling fans, it kind of just irks your soul, because these people are athletes. They put their bodies on the line. It's scripted, just like the story.
It's predetermined and scripted, right? But that doesn't. The bumps aren't fake. The bumps and everything, that's fake. Real. The physical aspect of it is real. Absolutely.
And even the predetermination, like, things happen. That's where unexpected surprises come in, because those stuff have happened. They have to, change things on the fly. So it's scripted, but just like with any movie that is action based, you have your stunt doubles. You take these hits, and that's what these people do. So that's fake word really irks wrestling fans.
You're right. I meant to say predetermined, because
you're nailed you on that one, man. She nailed you on that one.
My bad, people. I'm so sorry. Shame on me.
But I definitely agree with the 3 stages, though, because you're pulled in, you think everything is 100%, like what they're telling you, you're just eating it up. You think everything is real. Then you find out, oh, they knew this was going to happen. Okay, you're a little bit disappointed. And then as you obviously get older, you don't want these spoilers and everything. So you try to avoid it, but you come to accept that that's how it is.
Right. So real quick though, so just to kind of, pick your mind a little, what I really wanted to jump into is like the landscape of wrestling now, just where the chips are, what we've been exposed to, via Monday Night Raw, Elimination Chamber, NXT,
Eddie,
TNA.
Before we jump in with that real fast, can I just interject, just ask Brianna one quick question?
Yeah,
just so that the listeners and everyone kind of know where we're coming from. Brianna, in terms of your wrestling fandom currently and your watching, are you still watching currently all the episodes of everything? Are you watching just Raw once a week? Like, just so kind of we know, where we're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely try to tune in to every product that is available to me, whether it be WWE, AEW, currently TNA is on. Granted, life happens, but I always do make sure that I stay in the know. I always follow up if I can't stay up for whatever the case may be. I always follow up with the results. I want to know what's happening.
So you're reading reports or listening to a podcast or doing something to make sure you get the information that was most recent. Okay, just so like I said, we know and the viewers and listeners know your fandom level in terms of this conversation. So I'm sorry, Eddie, please continue.
No, that's good. I mean, and actually, I think she said it really well. Like, life happens, and I mean, just today as an example, I caught up on the rest of Raw. I saw AEW today and NXT all within my afternoon. You know what I mean? So I get it. So that was beautifully explained.
I still haven't even caught up on NXT. Like, I watched Raw.
Fantastic, man. Roadblock is looking crazy. I can't wait. But anyway, whew. All right, Brianna, back to the question though. So where the chips are right now, I'm sure like us, you were kind of like thinking about well, where does WrestleMania lead to? What's happening here? This and that, and then Elimination Chamber, Monday Night Raw, and I mean, so many things just happened in the last 4 days, 5 days, and now it's like, whoa,
Huge 4 days in wrestling.
everything shifted. So, what I would like to get your thoughts on like what you thought before, and then what you think now. Like, where do you think we're going at this point? I mean, not just WWE. I mean, any promotion at this point. Please, floor is yours.
Yeah, just because you touched on it with Elimination Chamber, I'll kind of stick with the WWE for the moment. Um, I am definitely one that has my own opinions, but I am very active online as well. I see people's reactions and their perspective and their feelings, and I understand like Royal Rumble is the road to WrestleMania. That's what kicks it off. So after the Royal Rumble happened, everything was a little lackluster. I can agree with that. But, WrestleMania is pretty far into April this year. It was plenty of time. So even though I agreed with it, I was like, well, we have time. And then, of course, we had the chamber that was coming up in between. So, like, there's still a lot of stuff to determine. So now that the chamber's hit, we have all of our main title contenders, competitors. Don't know what we're trying to come out there. I definitely feel like now there's more hype to it because there was a lot of shocking moments that happened at the Elimination Chamber. Cena's heel turn, Jade coming back. And I also feel like the Chamber in itself, aside from just determining who your number one contenders are going to be, it also set up a bunch of different storylines. And I think that's a great thing to do because WrestleMania, you can have a lot of titles, but they're not always going to be defended. Your WrestleMania is not going to be just titles. So I think the Elimination Chamber did a very good job of setting up these other storylines. Bailey and Roxanne, possibly Liv and Alexa. Like, you can tell based off of certain people's reactions at the end of their matches, what it's going to lead to. And then in the men's side, you got Seth and Punk, Priest and Drew. It just did a very good job of adding more layers and all these other possibilities for what WrestleMania is going to be, especially being 2 nights now. You need more depth in there. And I think the Chamber did a really good job with that. Personally, I did not think they were going to take the title off of Rhea on Monday night. I think they've been building up so much for Rhea versus Bianca on the main roster. When I saw that happened, I was like, wow. Like, I get it. Io got screwed out of her opportunity to compete in the Chamber. So giving her this match was, kind of repayment. I didn't see her taking the title. So I think Hunter is doing a really good job building everything. And I think people were just kind of, they're being premature in regards to their reaction on the road to WrestleMania. I definitely think it's shifted a lot since the Chamber. And, we had the first Raw after the Chamber. We're going to have our first SmackDown tomorrow. And I just think it's going to build from here. We've got 6 weeks to go and a lot of time to build on these, all these storylines where the seeds have been planted.
Yeah, 6 or 7 weeks to go it's definitely a long time. And getting back to what you were talking about with Io Sky and Rhea, I mean, something about that match was always a little fishy to me. I more so saw it somehow that there would be like a double disqualification at the end, and then you were going to have a triple threat match at Mania. Was more so where I did before. I thought they were going to put the belt on Io completely. And I love Io Sky. She might be my favorite female superstar right now. Like, she is fantastic. So I'm not mad at this at all. I think it's great. She's absolutely fantastic. And once again, I think this also, with there still being 6 weeks, can be a way for Rhea to work her way back into the situation, and we still might have that triple threat match that I'm talking about because, as we've alluded to many times already today, you still have a lot of time. There's a lot of time to go. So, but yeah, that was definitely a very big switch on Monday night. Like, as a couple back-to-back hits for Hunter in terms of like, Chamber, Cargill, Orton, Cena heel turn, then bang, take the belt off Rhea. Like, well, we're moving and shaking on the way. Like, we're running now.
Yeah. But then, so I don't know if you guys heard this, right? But I also heard that because WrestleMania ticket sales were not boosting as quick enough, like they weren't going quick enough, that this John Cena heel turn was a major pivot to that to try to get more seats to be purchased for the event.
I mean,
Did you guys hear
that
that?
makes sense, because if you're not going to get the numbers that you want, then you're going to want to do something to get those numbers. And at this point, the only thing you hadn't done with Cena up until this point was have him run heel, and this is his last year. So I totally believe that that's something, because also Hunter has shown more so than Vince that he's willing to change on the fly and to adapt and to make moves and different changes as per what he hears from not only his locker room but the WWE universe.
Yeah. I'm very into the fact that Hunter is online. Hunter is listening to everything the fans have to say. He is, reading their tweets, and he is booking for the fans. And you can tell he's giving them something to want to tune into. And, like I mentioned, it was very lackluster after Rumble. I don't deny that their ticket sales for WrestleMania may have been on the low side. So you want to give the people something that they want to come to, they want to tune into. And so, with it being Cena's last year, it was very shocking to me. Like, I've heard the rumors that, definitely looking into everything. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger on it. Cena's been the face of this company for 20 years. It being his last year, didn't think it was going to happen. Do I think it's a good move? Absolutely. Because two baby faces going against each other, you have the people who like the heels, you have the people who like the faces, but when you have two beloved superstars going up against each other, you don't really know what to do with yourself as a fan. And so I definitely think, and he can kind of relate to The Rock. They've had their their past history. They're both at a time in their careers where they're part timers. So I definitely see his connection with The Rock and taking the deal with The Rock. I'm interested to see how they play the rest of the year out with Cena's heel turn, because personally, I think with the career he's had and it being his last year, I don't think he should go off into the sunset as a heel.
I highly doubt that we'll see that. I agree with you 110% on that. That can't be the way Cena leaves this company. Like, can't. Like, I understand that it's all for whatever, but for his legacy and everything, you can't do that. But Eddie, what about you, man?
I mean, I agree with both of y'all, and I really like that Brianna made that point that, well, actually, you both made this point that Triple H is willing to pivot when he needs to. I just, I don't know. I don't want to say more, only because I am genuinely excited now. I wasn't excited before Elimination Chamber because everything did seem like kind of like plain. It was just going to be like, okay, Drew's going to go with Damian, and Seth is probably going to go after Punk, and it's like, and Roman's going to get inserted somehow, and then Cena's going to win. And then Cody was, I mean, I really thought Cody was going to be the one that was going to turn heel, and that's how we move forward. But there's a lot of speculation about like the reason why Travis Scott was out there. Like, I know in the last episode we kind of clowned him a little about his not knowing that wrestling is predetermined and controlled, and he's just slapping the crap out of Cody, and but now I'm like genuinely excited because like we don't know what's going to happen, and that is a fun factor, you know what I mean? And just to kind of step aside to like NXT, even NXT is building up. Roadblock is looking incredible. Like, I can't wait for that Julia Stephanie Vacar match. I can't wait for that Obafemi Moose match. And like, I'm sure we're gonna get a little bit more clashing of like more TNA and NXT superstars. I'm sure the Hardys are gonna get inserted somehow. Ricky Saints is gonna get inserted somehow, and then probably I don't even know, but just everything's starting to shape up pretty well now. Other promotions, on the other hand, though, I mean, I feel like every episode, I always have to come out and say, like, I'm not a hater. I'm not a person that believes in like tribalism of wrestling. Like, I like all wrestling. I like all products. But I must say that, this past Wednesday's episode of Dynamite is just it's really not engaging. It's just not. It's just
it's tough watch for you, huh?
It is a really tough watch because, and then I really want to hear what you guys think about what I'm about to say is, but like ultimately watching AEW, you start to realize that it's a 60-40 split. 60% of the talent that are showcased on Dynamite are all ex WWE superstars, like Moxley, Adam Copeland, Ricochet and Swerve
Syndicate.
and Hurt Syndicate, and it's just like, okay, cool, but what happened to the pillars? What happened to the people who built this organization? Even Jericho. I mean, like, I know Jericho has taken a kind of like a step back and is doing more Ring of Honor stuff, but still, it's like, man, big cast. I mean, he's big Bill now, but like, it's just, I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and then I'm just like not genuinely excited for any talent that's there, unfortunately, because I feel like they could be doing so much more. And I feel like they're not given the opportunity. I do like that retro tag team that does like videos and dress like they're like from the 80s. I love those guys. Those guys are awesome. I forgot their names. But it's rough. It's rough. I mean, I enjoy TNA, House of Glory, MLW a little bit more than I do AEW right now, even if it is on Max. And I mean, you can say I'm not an AEW supporter. I'm wearing an Inner Circle hat. Like I loved that whole crew because it was a modern day DX, if you really think about it, right? A 5-man DX, because you had your tag team in Pride and Powerful. You had Jericho, which was Triple H, right? You had Sammy Guevara, who was X-Pac. And then Hager was, China. Like, you know what I mean? The enforcer, if you think about it.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you go by the formula, then yeah, the enforcer was technically Jake Hager. So you're not wrong in there at all. Yeah. But yeah, I think AEW at this point is like we said, is just kind of, always trying to play catch up and not really as versed in this as WWE is, and it's starting to show. And the same thing that happened with WCW. Like, yeah, you hit the right chord for a while, and yeah, you're good, up and running, but the job is to maintain it over a period of time. Right. And that's the longevity of it is what you're aiming for, which is something WWE has gotten down to a T. As we're still, like I said, I'm 45 and I'm still watching this product the same as I did when, 1985. Like, so. Wow. Yeah, it's.
I wasn't even born, bro.
I know. I'm well aware.
Yeah.
I'm well aware. Well aware. So,
wow.
But yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Brianna, what about you? I mean, I know you're big on AEW. Also, Undisputed Kingdom, another ex WWE group. I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry, but go ahead, please. Floor is yours.
When it comes to AEW, I am kind of split because, I've been kind of one of the ones who've been watching it from the jump. I definitely encourage people to give it a chance, and I want AEW to succeed because there's so much talent that if there was only WWE, these people would not be able to prosper. And so that's why, in the beginning, I didn't really, it hurt me because, it wasn't as frequent as it is now with AEW pay-per-views and everything, but I didn't mind superstars going over to AEW, especially, in this instance, Adam Cole, one of my favorites. I loved Undisputed Era. But when he left the company, when he left WWE, it was Vince's regimen. And Vince, we all know, Vince at the time, never books the small guy. And unfortunately, as talented as he is, that's what Adam is. He is a small guy. Not to quote Pat McAfee on the small side, but I don't blame them. Definitely opens up more opportunity. But I also agree with you, Eddie, in regards to AEW started out with its own roster. You have maybe a handful of people like Jericho that came from other promotions, the Bucks, Kenny, Hangman, they all came from New Japan, but you kind of drifted from that.
Oh.
Yeah, so my biggest issue with AEW is that when it started, it had its group of people. Yeah, you had a couple people from other companies to kind of, grab the attention as established people like Chris Jericho. But since you find so many people that you're kind of disregarding the people who've been there for you from the beginning. You don't see your pillars anymore. Aside from MJF, you don't see Darby Allin, Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, even Britt Baker for the women's division. Like, she's getting no screen time at all. And I just think you talk so much about people being hired in these other companies and not being utilized. And that's what you're doing. You're hiring so many people and your OGs are not getting any recognition. And again, I don't blame people for going to AEW. They weren't getting the opportunities in their existing companies. But that, how is it fair to those people who have stuck by you through everything? Like, you're a 5-year company and you have someone who's a 4-time women's champion, another person who's a 3-time women's champion. That's why are you not spreading that out? And with all the titles you have too, you even have a whole other company under your belt in Ring of Honor. And to see the same people over and over again, that's what upsets me. Is like, you can easily establish 2 rosters for 2 companies, 2 belts. You don't need to see the same people on Dynamite and Collision and Ring of Honor pay-per-views winning everything. Like, that's not giving all these people you have rostered a chance. So that's my biggest issue when it comes to AEW. They have talent, not gonna deny it. They can put on great matches. But from a promoter standpoint, I think Tony Khan can do a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, it almost feels like, so 2 things based on what you just said. I completely agree with you. And that's why I was such a AEW supporter in the beginning, because I was excited about the possibilities. And I got excited to see people like, Rusev, Aleister Black, these guys come over and Andrade, because in my mind, I was like, okay, they didn't get a chance to become world heavyweight champion over here. So you know what? Maybe they could become world heavyweight champion over there. And they got put in the same position that they were at the other companies. So it was just like, so what's the point of all this? And then you start pushing this idea of like, oh yeah, AEW is like homegrown talent. And, like you said, with Darby Allin and all these folks. And then you end up either, pushing the wrong people, or now what it seems like now, as the product is now, based on Wednesday's episode, it's like, okay, you give Ricochet a chance. I still think he's terrible on the mic. I don't care how you try to spin that. I mean, his gimmick of like, he's just a bald Seth Rollins at this point. He's just trying to be this crazy, kooky kind of character. And Swerve is fantastic. I think he's a fantastic athlete, and he's really good, and he deserves better. Because, when it comes to a feud and when it comes to like that kind of partnership, you hear all the stories. The reason why Rock and Austin worked so well, because they genuinely loved and hated each other, because they knew they were in competition for the number 1 spot. But these guys are just like, okay, you can stab me in the head with a scissor. I'm gonna stab you back this week. And it's like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? And then Moxley and Adam Copeland. And I told Ariel maybe a few episodes back, like, I love legends, but like sometimes you just need to know when to like take a break and, use your expertise somewhere else. I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett. I don't want to see like,
I don't think anyone does.
So it's just really, really upsetting, like what it's become. And then I also feel like, back to your Tony comment, honestly, I just felt like it was like, because I know he's rich and I know he got money in different, teams and things like that. But it almost feels like he got like a credit card from his dad, and his dad was like, hey, buy any wrestling toy you want and have fun. And the guy just made his own toy company and starts spewing all this stuff. And here we are. This is what we get. I don't know. Maybe I am a hater.
No, you're I hate it because, again, as a fan of AEW, I agree with all those points. One of the things that, upsets me with Tony is, one, his mouth. He doesn't know how to keep it shut. And the fact that you put your superstars, your wrestlers, in a position to constantly iterate, oh, AEW is where the best in the world wrestle. you really think we're gonna believe it just because you say it? Like, again, when it comes to Colt, he wanted new opportunities, wanted to face new people. I don't mind it. Swerve definitely, was put over a lot more in AEW than he would have been in WWE. Not saying that he didn't have his success down in NXT, but he got to his world title picture. And so that's why for some people I do understand. But like you also said, watching Dynamite, it's practically all former WWE guys. Like, where are you seeing your homegrown talent that you pledged so much for? You said so much that you didn't want to be like the evil tycoon that is Vince McMahon, but you're turning into him. You're signing everybody, not using people. You went from having 4 prestige pay-per-views a year because you didn't want to be like the competition. And now you have one every month, just like WWE does. And it's a point where WWE made the change, and we don't have to pay $50 every month. We just have a Peacock subscription or a Netflix subscription. So you're doing everything that you talked crap about with WWE. You're becoming the person you didn't want to. And another thing with his mouth is that there's such great talent in AEW that if he would just swallow his pride, he could make a deal with Triple H. It doesn't have to be like the partnership that TNA and WWE have right now, but to have, just imagine a forbidden door between AEW and WWE. Like, before, couldn't even be thought of when AEW first started. But we've seen the forbidden door kicked in, and anything is possible. But Tony's just so against WWE as a whole. Like, everyone wants to see Ospreay and Seth Rollins. Me personally, I'm one of them. And I just think because Tony's so pig-headed, so all about him and trying to make it seem like he's better, that he's not only hurting his company and his wrestlers, but he's going to make the same mistakes that WCW did. And I don't want to see that happen because too many superstars will be left in the dust. Ring of Honor, it died. He brought it back. But even then, like, Athena, she's the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion, not just women's champion in general. But would you know it? No, because you don't advertise Ring of Honor as its own product. You didn't work out a TV deal to get it a weekly episodic show. What if you're going to do the same thing on Dynamite and Collision? Why not just give one of those to Ring of Honor? Like, there's so many things that Tony could be doing better. But I don't want to see AEW die because they're very talented superstars.
Ariel, what do you think?
I mean, no, I both of you 100% correct. Like, it's a shame that AEW's gotten to where it is because it was such a big thing early on, and it was this massive competition with WWE, and now it's gotten to the point I mentioned a couple episodes ago where it's like they shoot certain ways because they can't pack the arenas the way they used to, so they only have to shoot for certain angles and things like that. It does kind of stink because you're missing a lot of the homegrown talent and things that has jumped. You've had the people who've left. Like Penta left; he was one of the original guys who was there, one of the first tag team, the Lucha Brothers. Phoenix is on his way out the door probably soon and be joining Penta. So it does kind of stink because you're not focusing on the homegrown talent, but you're also writing isn't strong enough to do anything right now. Like it's tough because as much as we want to blame Tony Khan, we have to also take into the fact that there's writers and stuff like that are pushing this product out, and they have to be better essentially. So I think that's also kind of where we have to point a finger at AEW as well, is just coming up with the storylines and creating them and keeping them going. I think they need to be better with it and more engaging, more intriguing, stuff like that. But that's me.
Yeah, no, agreed.
No, I agree.
But no more bashing AEW because I still
not a bash.
I still love
just
the talent there.
When there's two major companies and one is just doing so well and the other's just not. It's just you can just pick the faults real quick.
You can put on all the 5-star matches you want, but like we talked about when we were first drawn in, it wasn't just the action; it was the storylines. And without having the writers doing their job and putting those storylines out there, who's going to be there to watch those 5-star matches? And another thing is you have to be careful with what you're doing because not to be one to point out a botch, but between Christopher Daniels last week and then Ricochet last night, that's pretty bad. Yeah. That's pretty bad. So you got to really work on that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but you said something really interesting before we move on to the next topic because, you something that you made me realize AEW definitely did start off hot. And I feel like they were, the timing was like WWE was still under the old regime and AEW got started and they had so much momentum. Did they have like a WCW like 83 week run? Like, like that something similar? Did anybody ever calculate
I
that?
mean, I don't. I'm not really sure because I'm not sure exactly Dynamite when it premiered, what day it was on, like what this and that. So it's a lot easier if they're going head to head, which is what they were doing with Monday Night Raw and Nitro. So I'm not 100% sure, but
That's
Well,
right. They didn't
I
start off
do
on the day.
know,
Yeah.
I do know that they were going head to head with NXT,
Mm,
which, is a little different, but the black and gold brand, which is what it was at the time, was very hot and
yeah.
very drawing. And so they did, from a ratings perspective, Dynamite was beating out NXT. But even now, it's not the black and gold brand. It's gone through, two personality changes in NXT. Even though they're not on the same night, it's beating out Dynamite. And that's to say
Yeah.
something. So if you're comparing it to, the Monday Night Wars, it's kind of taking that turn where WCW wasn't bringing in the ratings anymore. It was losing its interest and ultimately lost the wars. And if that's where AEW is headed, I'm scared for the talent. I don't want to see that happen. But it
Yeah.
definitely went from, you know, it may not have been Raw, it may not have been SmackDown, but NXT was hot and you were beating them. And now you're not. And look at the talent that left NXT since then.
Mm. Yeah, you're right about that. Okay, so now to get back to the road to WrestleMania, what do you think? Like, where do we end up here? What do you think night one's gonna look like at this point? If you had to make a bet.
That's very hard to say because, like we mentioned earlier, like there's still so much time to build on all these different storylines, not just from the chamber, just from how, Raw and SmackDown have been lately. Your US title picture come WrestleMania, like I know LA Knight has a title match, but your US title picture can be really anything right now. It could be, a singles match, triple threat, fatal four way, ladder match. There's so many people with their hands on the pot for the US title, and it's working. Like Andrade and Carmelo, they went on that 7 match series. We know
great
that they would
series.
be good and, they can prosper in a ladder match. We know that Jimmy Uso, been in ladder matches. All the people, all the names that are kind of there, it can lead to anything. And so whether that be a night one or a night two, same thing with your tag division, MCMG, Pretty Deadly, DIY, Street Profits. People were upset that SmackDown went to a 3-hour show. I get it. But now that things are kind of shaking up with the world title pictures, you can focus more on, your other areas. There's just so much that can still happen. I have no clue how night one can go. There's just so many matches that can come to fruition and be confirmed. And I don't know whether it's worthy of night one or night two. I just think of all the possibilities, WrestleMania in general, it's going to be awesome.
I know it is. It is so. There's so much rumors out there. Like just in the last 24 hours, like these are the things, and I'll throw them out there to see if you guys heard it and if you think it's possible. But there's an angle, right, which I kind of don't want to happen because we kind of did something similar last WrestleMania. But there's an angle where it's gonna be like Rock, Cena, and Travis, like versus Cody, Austin, because Austin was saying that, Vegas is, 40 minutes away from his ranch and he would love to be there. And then even there was a reaction of Bad Bunny
Yeah,
since he has
I
experience
saw
in the
that where they were
ring.
like, you have one music star, one like legend,
Right.
and I saw that. I'd prefer it not to go that way either on that aspect. Like that's
With
no
the
thank you.
musicians, I agree. When it comes to Austin, Cody's at a point in his career right now. He can't trust anybody. Randall's constantly eyeing his title. Kevin turned on him. Cena turned heel. Like, he doesn't really have anyone he can trust. And even those he can trust are kind of preoccupied, like Sami Zayn with his unsanctioned match that happened with Kevin. I was really hoping to see Austin last year because I know that he is The Rock's greatest rival. So I was a little disappointed to not see him. So if he does show up in Cody's corner, I'd actually would enjoy that. The musician aspect, as much as I enjoy seeing Bad Bunny in a WWE ring because I think he puts in the work, just like I can't stand Logan Paul, but he puts in the work and he can put on a match. As much as I would like to see Bad Bunny return, Travis Fad does not need to be in a ring yet. I know he's training. I don't think he's going to be WrestleMania ready, and I don't think we need to do that.
There you go. I like that.
I agree.
Some
with
sass on that response.
It's unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. So one thing I did think about for night one, is night one where you get to give Punk his Mania main event, because he said he wanted the main event. He didn't say it had to be night two. So we know we have the main events for night two locked out. This might be an opportunity where maybe they do something with him and Rollins and put them on the main event of Saturday, or him, Rollins, and maybe even Reigns, because he's still in the mix too. That triple threat there. Because remember when they went out, it was Punk who eliminated Reigns and Rollins, and then he got tossed by Paul. So it was the three of them. So they still could work this into a three-way dance and be the main event at night one of WrestleMania. That's the only thought I have about that, because, like we said, they do have other stuff happening. Like it looks like McIntyre and Priest are going to be going and stuff like that. Whether it's night one or two, I mean, at this point, it's a coin flip, because it depends on where your major bookings are going. But in terms of that, I'm thinking this is still a chance for Punk to get his main event at WrestleMania this year, which may be where the favor comes in, because let's say Rollins and Reigns get a match all of a sudden, and then Punk's like, no, I want in too. Like, I've been involved in this nonsense, let me in, something like that. Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, spitting because we have no idea, so we're just gonna just throw it out there and see what happens,
Yeah, that favor is like a wild card. You don't know how it's gonna come into play.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I have another rumor that I heard, and then a thought. The other rumor that I've been hearing lately, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, is the faction that's being created is not necessarily the corporate Rock. It's more so like Hollywood driven, right? Because they're both movie stars, right? So there's been theories out there that the other two to join this so-called faction is Miz and LA Knight, because Miz has some star power, with his straight to home movies and reality television shows.
You had to throw straight to home in there, didn't you? You had to throw that in there. You couldn't just say with his movies, and then wait for somebody else to be like straight to home. No, you need to throw the dig on there, man. Hating on the Miz, bro. But it's funny, it's funny you say that, because when you said this Hollywood faction, the first name that I thought of that wasn't Rocky or Cena was the Miz. But continue. I don't want to take your thought from you. But yes,
no, you're right. And,
yes, straight, and then, as you were saying, straight to home Miz.
Straight to home Miz, right? And then and LA Knight, another one. The connection there. So that's the thought process. What do you guys think? Would that be fun? Would you be down to see that?
I personally wouldn't mind it. I just feel like they need to do more than just, the Hollywood aspect that draws them in. Like, you can point out that The Miz hasn't really had much success lately. Like, some of the things that made Cena's heel turn understandable was just some of the facts of what's happened. He went how long without winning a singles match, trying to put other people over, and he wants that 70s championship. Like, those are driving factors for him to sell his soul to The Rock. And as much as I understand The Miz and LA Knight possibly joining this Hollywood-based faction, I want them to play it right. I want them to make it make sense. Not just because they have a tie to Hollywood. Like, Miz hasn't won anything. LA Knight loses his opportunity he loses in his next opportunity to get the U.S. title back. Give it something like, why would they need to sell their soul to The Rock? Right. What is the point of it?
So it's funny that you say that, because that's exactly the reason why they would join the faction.
Yeah.
Because John has lost so much. He's like, you know what? I'm going to join The Rock so I could get what I want. Same thing with LA Knight. Same thing with Miz. So that was the theory and the thinking behind that. Ariel, what do you think?
I mean, I'm not a fan of the idea. and it's not so because of the names that were put in. Miz, I've never been a huge Miz guy, but I have huge amounts of respect for what he's done. Coming from the real world, knowing that he wanted to be a wrestler when he started those real world interview tapes. I don't know if you guys remember the real world interview tapes, probably not because I'm ancient, but knowing that he wanted to do that and then going to Tough Enough doing it and being, with the company as long as he has and stuff like that. And LA Knight, yeah, he's proven he can get a pop and draw a crowd and everything like that. But I think Rock and Cena are enough that you don't need to do anything in terms of a faction and kind of water it down and stuff like that. I think when you have those two there, even if let's say Rock's not there and Cena's there or vice versa, you have enough. So not a huge fan of this becoming a stable. And once again, not because of the names given, but just because I don't think it's truly necessary.
Okay. Brianna,
I agree to that. Yeah. And I mean, not that I've heard those rumors. I can attest to those rumors, especially with LA Knight. But I didn't say Ariel the point, like, it doesn't need to happen. And like, like we said, with it being Cena's last year, how long is this heel turn really gonna last? Because, I've seen stuff say he had this touching moment with Punk in the chamber, said they miss each other. They can be a set of wrestling soulmates. John probably has a couple. But Punk's also looking for that opportunity to get back in the world title picture as well. And what's the next biggest event after WrestleMania? SummerSlam. So, if they made that opportunity, like, if Cena does win his 17th, is it as meaningful, his reign, without his fans behind him? Like, does that make him understand he wouldn't have been where he was without his fans, and then he goes on a redemption for the rest of the year? So, to Ariel's point, the fashion really doesn't need to be necessary. Again, I've seen it, I understand it, but I can agree that it doesn't need to be a necessity because John's heel turn's not going to be that long, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I feel like it's going to be short lived. It could be even as I mean, if he loses at Mania, it could be as quick as The Rock turning on him right then and there, and then something happening and going to SummerSlam or something like that. I mean, I don't see this heel turn going that far because, like you said before, with it being Cena, he needs to go out as a face. There's no way you can have him go out as a heel. We saw Brianna. I'm not sure if I'm assuming you've listened to as a fan. I'm not sure if you watched the last episode, the agitation in Eduardo's face when we were talking about saying just the anger. So I think to fans, and he's not even a huge Cena guy. To fans, you can't have him walk out on the company as a heel. So there will be that change coming. So yeah, it's not going to be that long of a heel turn, especially where I think you can start a faction and then you have to break that faction down in 2 months.
It doesn't make much sense.
Why kind of bother? There's, I've seen that happen before, but these factions have been failed. People didn't get along, stuff didn't work out, whatever, chat. But when you're bringing up 4 names like that, 2 of them are signed to the company long term and aren't going anywhere. And Miz and LA Knight, or you like to think they're not, and it doesn't appear they are. Cena's not going anywhere else, and Rocky's the CEO. So,
Yeah. Well, skipping to what happened on Monday with Io Sky winning the women's world championship, and Rhea, life falling apart apparently, right? Now it's looking like it's going to be Io Sky and Bianca Belair. So I have 2 questions on this topic. Maybe even a third in there. But the first question about that whole scenario is, if as fans we've been wanting Rhea and Bianca for the longest, why do you think this was kind of taken away from us this WrestleMania season? Or do you think we still get there somehow?
Yeah. I think while there is still a chance to get there, I think it's in the 3-way realm that I brought up. Because to give Io the belt the way you did, and then pull it off her on the road to WrestleMania and not give her a chance to win it back on Mania or before, or I think whatever's kind of just that's not a good move. Like, it's not a good look. Like now you're belt hopping like quick, and WWE's usually not that quick to do these things. Now, granted, with with nothing's off the table. But I figured there is a chance for that to still happen. Like I said, I think it would be in the 3-way dance. Yeah, it does stink that it was pulled away, but if you're going to have somebody else in there with Bianca, I think Io is a great choice to have. Now, I don't know if there's any kind of injury to Rhea, or if she's got to miss any time for any particular reason. I think that she's being written off TV for a given reason. Not sure. But if she's healthy, I think there is a chance for it, but it would be under the 3-way dance.
So I definitely see the possibility of the 3-way. I think doing it this way, because honestly, from a fan perspective, the whole back and forth with Liv and Rhea for a while kind of got a bit tiring. But you find Rhea in this position now where, like you mentioned, her life is falling apart. She has nothing. She lost the Judgment Day. She lost her title. She lost her Terror Twin because he's over on SmackDown. So she really doesn't have anybody. And, with Bianca putting her hands on Rhea on Monday night, that technically should have caused for a DQ. But it didn't.
Yes. I'm glad you caught that because I said that too.
Yeah, she can use that to throw herself into a 3-way. But, I think it's kind of a way to protect Bianca because she currently has this undefeated streak with Mania, and I don't think she's walking out champion. Reason being, because the Jade storyline, the Jade and Naomi storyline, still has a large part to play with Bianca. Like, WWE doesn't do things without a purpose. And Naomi looking back at Bianca all nervous makes me think Bianca has a part in it. Whether she set Naomi up, she was part of it, whatever the case may be. And she even said in the Elimination Chamber, press conference, that's still all going on in her mind. She's trying to be ready for Mania and try to have her mind on Mania, but she still has this Jade and Naomi issue in the forefront of her mind. So I feel like if it does come out that Bianca played a part in it, whether it be that she was part of it with Naomi or she set Naomi up, that the aftermath can protect Bianca by having her lose the match.
Okay.
So if it's a 3-way, you take out the disqualification factor. And so if they do interrupt and, whether it be Jade or Naomi or both and attack Bianca, yes, she's going to take an L, but it also protects the title itself because a title can still be won by pinfall between the two remaining competitors.
Right. Yep.
Wow. So you guys really think it turns into a triple threat? Because that was going to be part 2 of this question, was with Rhea out of the picture and it's Io Sky and Bianca. Do we think Bianca walks out? But obviously, Brianna, you said probably not. And I mean, I know Ariel is a very big Bianca fan, so it's like,
I mean, these 3 are my top 3 female superstars right now. Like these 3 are my favorite. Like it's unbelievable. So I love this. But in terms of what Brianna said, absolutely, I think it is tough because you do have that storyline. Now, the other thing that can play with that storyline, the Jade Cargill Naomi storyline. So yeah, Bianca could theoretically, even if she takes an L in that match, let's say the Naomi Jade thing comes out and they come out and she gets disqualified for paying attention to something else, or she loses outright for not focusing in the ring. Fine, totally understood. There is a possibility that Bianca wins, and this is where her and Jade's new feud start for the women's belt.
Right.
So this could go any number of ways. Like I said, the triple threat I'm putting out there as if Rhea has to get involved, this is the way to do it. I think you can still get a chance to just have Io and Bianca and get a good build for 6 weeks, and then still screw Bianca at Mania or whatever, and just start introducing the Jade line somewhere down there. Like it takes this 6 weeks to find out that she was involved or what have you. Either way. But yeah, I think if Rhea to get involved, it's got to be a triple threat. But you can still do this championship match. But either way, I agree with Brianna. I don't think Bianca walks out.
Okay. So I have another question for y'all. Moving on to another part of WrestleMania now. So with Cody and Cena matching up for the Universal or Undisputed Championship, and Gunther and Jey Uso going for the World Heavyweight, do we get a Kofi Mania 2 with Jay in that story? Because my thing is, are we going to really have 2 world champions be crowned at WrestleMania at this point? Because I mean, you're gonna take it away from John, or Cody retains, or you're really gonna let Jey Uso be Gunther because it's been building up that way. But if there's a title change with Cody and John, do we really think Gunther loses? You know what I mean? So what do you think happens there? Are there two new champions, or no new champions there?
Or one.
Maybe.
Or one.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if I see anything, my personal thought process is Cena doesn't win. Cena doesn't win, and then this allows for more nonsense because, once again, as Brianna said, if you give him that belt reign and no one's behind him, it's not really the same to carry that one, you know? So I figure he may get his shot after, because once again, heel turn comes, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He may get a chance down the line at SummerSlam or something else. So I think Cody retains. I think if there's anything that happened, I think we do get a Kofi Mania 2 moment with Jey Uso. But they like Gunther. Hunter's a Gunther guy. So
I like Gunther.
I'm not really a Gunther guy, but I mean, he's very efficient. He's good at what he does. I'm not taking anything away from that. I respect it. Just because I don't like a wrestler doesn't mean I don't respect the hell out of what they do all the time. That's first and foremost. But I think if anything, if you're going to see one change, I think it is fucking Yeetomania or whatever you're going to want to call it, whatever they're going to want to call it. But yeah, I think if it is, it's going to be that. But I was wrong with Cena winning the thing. So, but I think Cody retains. I think if you do see a change, it's going to be Jey Uso winning. But what about you, man? What do you think? I mean, you think Cena's going to win, probably, right?
I don't know anymore. Brianna, you go first, please.
So for me, I can't think of it as just Gunther, Jey, Cena, and Rhodes. I'm thinking of it from a 4 world championship perspective. And I personally feel like I'm a little iffy with Jey and Gunther because Gunther, if I'm not mistaken, I tend to get my facts a little bit mixed up. Gunther lost to Sammy last year.
Yes.
So to have Gunther take 2 back-to-back WrestleMania L's, for someone who was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, he was very dominant as the NXT UK champion. I can see from that perspective, Hunter doesn't want to give him that second consecutive L. But you have Jey kind of in this Sammy storyline. Chance after chance, who's finally gonna conquer Gunther? And I'm all for Jey. I feel like he's very over with the fans, and if you're giving into the fans, like, one thing you got to take out of it is the IWC. They're never happy. But the fans in the arena, if a superstar gets encore after encore after encore for their entrance, they're over. So for that, I'm kind of a toss-up. But from an overall world title perspective, based off of the matchups that we have and what we've touched on, I see it very likely being the 2 women's titles don't change hands and the 2 men do. Nothing against Cody. I feel like Cody, deserved it when he won last year. But again, we also have to look at it at John. It's his last year. He's gunning for that 17th championship. And, I've said it. If he loses, he's just going to continue on this heel run, right? I feel like they're not going to make that switch so quickly. So you'd have to build for him to continue to be heel, win the championship, have that heel championship run, and then lose it and retire, get redemption. I feel like that's a little bit fast paced. Given that he sold his soul, right? He's giving everything to win this championship. That's why I feel like, and The Rock makes his own rules, given the position he has. I feel like it is very likely Cena wins his 17th championship at Mania. Does he hold it, till SummerSlam or Survivor Series or whatever the case may be? I feel like he goes to the summer. And that gives him 4 months to realize this is not who I am. This is not what I was in this business for. I'm in this business for the fans. And, right off into the sunset as a babyface. So I'm very high on the 2 men title changes, but the 2 women don't. That's why I'm looking at from like a 4 title match perspective. Because if I look at it from the 2, I become very indecisive on what's gonna happen.
Well, if I may, I forgot about the women's, and that's on me. Terrible. I think with the women, I would also be saying a split, where I think once again Io retains, and I think Charlotte would take off of Tiffany. Just because it's Charlotte and they love Charlotte, so that's. But that's why because I didn't mention the 2 women's matches earlier, so I just wanted to interject those in.
Yeah. But Vince loves Charlotte. Let's just keep that in mind. Vince loves Charlotte. Charlotte has not been around very much since Connor's taken over, so Connor can very much swerve us.
But Hunter loves Rick. Yeah. Like that's his boy. That was Evolution. That was like so. That's what I'm saying. This could go either way. Like,
so you know what's funny? You know what's funny about this conversation is because, like, the minds that you guys have thinking that deep into it. Because sometimes I just, as a fan, as someone who analyzes the sport, I just want to shut that part of my brain off, and I just want to be like, hey, from a fan's point, I want Bianca to win because I like Bianca. I want Cody to win because I've been on the Cody train for the last 2-3 years. I'm okay with him winning again. I want Gunther to win because I think he is a force to be reckoned with, and he should dominate. He deserves to dominate. And then I think Tiffy should beat Charlotte because Charlotte's the past and Tiffy's the future. Like, just simple answer. That's exactly what I genuinely would want. But if I sit here and really think about it, like you guys, I'm like, well, it does make sense.
But that's the thing is that's what we're doing here is we have the ability to give both sides, to give our fan aspect. Because what is what you and I both said? You and I both said our fan aspect was for Jey Uso to win the Royal Rumble. That was but our in brain. So that's the beauty of doing what we do when we're here is we can offer both those takes.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right about that. And and like, even I don't know how we get there, but I want the Street Profits to win and Mania, because those guys where they're going is going to be fantastic.
I love the Street Profits. So yes, I'm down with you on that. Let's make that happen. Sure.
Yeah, how the tag team title picture shakes up on SmackDown for WrestleMania, it's going to be very interesting because all 4 teams that are involved, they're very talented teams. DIY on their current heel kick, they've been making it work, especially taking on MCMG, which seems to be, the only babyface in this situation. Pretty Deadly heels, DIY heels, Street Profits heels. And I give the edge to the Street Profits because DIY had the edge when they turned heel to win the titles against MCMG and to retain them in the follow-up match. So Street Profits now being heel, and we know Montez is a phenomenal athlete. How they shake it up, whether it be only 2 teams, whether it be 4 teams, however it may be, I think that is going to be a great matchup, however they do it. And again, I do give the edge to the Street Profits. But real quick on the world titles, the reason why I don't want Charlotte to win is because she already buried Rhea, when she was an up-and-comer at WrestleMania. And we don't want to see that happen with Tiffany. Charlotte's put in her time. She has her accolades. But, like you mentioned, she's the past. And Tiffany's the future. And you kind of see the remaining 4 horsewomen, Bayley, Becky, Charlotte, all kind of have their successors in place. Bayley with Roxanne. Rumors that Becky's going to come back and go after Lyra for the women's IC title. And they've already, met up in NXT. So they're finding their successor because they can't do it forever. They have to find the next generation. So I feel like if Charlotte was to win over Tiffany, that really kills Tiffany's momentum. And you don't know where she's going to go from there.
Yeah.
No, makes sense.
Now, two more matches that I have in the back of my mind, not Mania related, but only because I'm just fans. I'm a huge fan of them. Julia and Stephanie Vicar, title versus title on NXT. What I'm Team Stephanie all day, every day. So that's my pick. What do you guys think? Brianna, what do you think?
Well, trying to be just from a fan perspective, I just want to see a good match. But again, being an in-depth fan, listening to the rumors, it sounds like Julia has an injury because it also doesn't make sense with how fast you introduced the Women's North American Championship. I think in maybe late second half of last year, hasn't even been around for a year. To put 2 titles on one person doesn't really make much sense. So the injury, if it's there, I get it. And I wish Julia, the best of luck. I still want to see a good match. And, when she comes back fully healthy, would like to see her have a legitimate run with the NXT Women's Championship. I definitely can see Stephanie being a great champion. I hope that they don't unify the titles, and I hope she pulls what Keith Lee did when he beat Adam Cole and relinquish the North American Championship. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I think unification of those belts is a bad idea also. Especially if you just put one out. You can't do that. I think it's a terrible idea. Good call on that. Good call.
Yeah. And another title versus title match, Obafemi and Moose versus Moose. Because that's cross-promotional. And now the question is, who has the star power to carry both? Personally, because I feel like Moose has a little bit more, I feel like he's the one that's going to walk away with both of those titles.
Yeah, I was going to say Moose.
Yeah. From a character-wise, I definitely think Moose has more of a character appeal. Not that Obafemi doesn't, he definitely demonstrates being dangerous, being a monster. But I can agree with you guys. I definitely see title for title. I see Moose walking out the victor.
Yeah. 3 votes for Moose. Let's go.
Moosey.
All right. Sorry. Well, so Brianna, just to kind of wrap things up, just any final thoughts, any thoughts, opinions, ideas that you want to just put out there to the world, because once I edit and everything, we're gonna shoot it off to the world and people are gonna hear. So anything you want to put out there?
Well, I'm definitely excited, for WrestleMania. I don't know if you guys have seen the memes with the 3-headed dragon, and WrestleMania 41 was the goofy one, and now it's like the Ultra Dragon, the Gold Dragon. I'm definitely excited for it. I am definitely going to be tuning in once I return to the country. Revolution, which is this weekend, and definitely Roadblock and everything to come. I'm a big fan of this partnership, and like I mentioned, I wish Tony Khan would be open to it because we could get some great matches between the the WWE superstars and the AEW superstars. But I did also see rumors, and I kind of just want to get your guys' opinion on it. Evolution 2, possibly for this summer. Now, with WWE having its TNA partnership, I think Evolution 2 is a great opportunity for both women's rosters to shine. You have your main titles, your mid-card titles, your tag team titles in both promotions. So just based off of, way back when Evolution 1 happened, how would you guys feel if they did do that, given that it is now, a partnership deal and possibly being a partnered dual brand or dual company pay-per-view?
I mean, I think with that, it being a dual brand would give it so much more cachet and more. First, we'll get more eyes on it because just additional fans. But I think it would definitely be better suited, if you do it as a multi-brand kind of thing. And I'd love to see that. I think it's a great idea. I love everything about what you're saying. So, what about you, Ed?
Yeah, no, I'm all for that because, to be honest with you, I feel as of late, in any promotion, really, right? Because I will say that the talent in AEW when it comes to the women's matches have been fantastic. Megan and just oh man, so what I'm trying to say is to have a caliber of a pay-per-view like that or PLE, right? We were so used to saying pay-per-view, man.
Yeah, so used to it.
We can never get rid of that.
It's just always in there. It's like Twitter.
Yeah. And just I feel like the caliber of female superstars now is just been elevated so much since Evolution 1 that I feel like this would be fantastic to watch. I mean, you know, maybe even for the like best, you know, pay-per-view of the year, PLE of the year, you know, like obviously
you never know.
besides
I mean,
WrestleMania
it's
and
totally
stuff like
possible given the talent
Yeah.
there, of course.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic. And then you got, you know, women going for cross titles, and then imagine somebody from NXT just running around with, you know, a TNA title or vice versa, like North
Why
American
not?
on TNA
Let's
every
do it.
Thursday.
I mean, if you're
That'd be wild.
into promoting, you do something fun with it.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
you can. There's so many possibilities right now, including John Cena and Joe Hendry. Who knows where that can go? Joe Hendry kind of called him out.
Yes.
Can't really say much, but if he wins that title, he goes over and
I can say one thing for certain. I can say that I believe in Joe Hendry.
My only issue with Joe Hendry is that his song gets stuck in my head.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
much.
But it's okay.
But
It's a good song
he's
to have stuck
over.
in your head.
He is over with
King
any
over
crowd.
right now. Absolutely.
He got the pop when he first arrived in NXT. He got the pop at the Rumble. You know, Sheamus was very into him and
Love it.
very
Love it.
entertained by him. So
sure.
that's my only issue with Joe Hendry, that his song gets stuck in my head. But I'd like to see the cross promotions.
I understand that. The issue with the man is that his music is too good. I understand that. That's just, it's too good.
And before I forget, it's popped in my head, and I'm sorry to kind of keep this going, but
No, you're good.
with the cross promotion, I don't know if you guys saw, but Elijah signed with TNA.
He did.
Bring back that storyline with Kevin sometime later this summer, after he's gone, through all of his wars right now, because it's probably going to be RKO versus KO at Mania. But his storyline for Ezekiel versus Elias was so entertaining. Throw Elias in there, and I will be dying in my seat, because Kevin is just so good with it.
Yeah.
And we had that opportunity.
If we could only get to a point where we could get like an invasion angle, just for fun, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just kind of like during Survivor Series season, just get something like that going, because the other thing that I was thinking about also, because it's not just Elijah, right? But you also, I eventually want to see like Mike Santana make his way and beat up somebody on the main roster. Like, I want that so bad. I'm a big Inner Circle guy when it first came out, and I was really big on the Pride and Powerful movement with that. And just to see, a Latino athlete of that caliber, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, we got Carlitos and Dominic, but he's from New York. He got that grit, you know what I mean? He got that Bronx feel, you know what I mean? So I would love.
There's one person if he does. I can definitely see it being entertaining. He just needs to stay away from Priest. We cannot have New York Weekend on New York Weekend violence.
No, I would love every bit of that. That's exactly who it should be. That's exactly who's the dominant Puerto Rican.
Yes. Let them both dominate around for a while.
Yeah, if you a cross promotion tag team with New York Weekends, all four Santana and Priest.
Great.
And taking that New York Weekend on New York Weekend violence, I can't agree to that.
I would love. No, because one is a Yankees fan and one is a Mets fan, right? No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Sure.
I know Priest is a huge Yankee fan. I know that.
Yeah, I think Santana is a Yankee fan too, so I think I don't think they.
So neither of them know. So neither of them know anything about baseball. Okay, good. Okay.
But in regards to the invasion angle, do you guys prefer Survivor Series to be about storyline, or did you like it better when it was essentially for brand supremacy? Because I thoroughly enjoyed the Raw, SmackDown, NXT Survivor Series. And I definitely think War Games doesn't need to be tied into Survivor Series. You can definitely throw it on any pay-per-view. I just felt like either that or bring back bragging rights, because I thoroughly do enjoy seeing what roster comes out on top. And when it was the Black and Gold brand and NXT came out on top that year, every match was entertaining. So do you guys prefer Survivor Series that way, or would you prefer them to bring back something like bragging rights to do that in the Survivor Series based off storyline?
Personally, me, I wish we could have kept the format of all brands in Survivor Series, because I did enjoy the NXT invasion. And I believe the reason why that happened was because a lot of people got stuck in Saudi. So a lot of the roster wasn't available to do what they were supposed to do. So they went with the NXT angle, and it turned out to be a beautiful accident. And I loved every bit of it. It was fantastic.
I'm gonna show a little bit of my get off my lawn here. So when I came up, it was Royal Rumble was a storyline, and it added to the storyline. When it went to the brands, I thought that also kind of fit in with a storyline. Which brand is better? Like da 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 da. So, I mean, I'm good either way, as long as you keep the matches entertaining and you're able to work the brand storylines into it, which you will. They absolutely will. I think you're good either way, as long as you have the good talent out there doing the matches. I mean, I just want to be entertained. So I'm good either way. If I had to, gun to my head, I like the storyline angle because I just kind of want to see, like it used to be like, oh, $1 Million Man and Hogan would get into it. All right, you'll take your 3 boys, I'll take my 3, and we'll see what happens. Cha cha cha. Yeah. So that's me. But like I said, you can absolutely work in storylines to do the brand thing and be like, okay, well, winner here gets something or whatever. Cha cha cha. Have them, have it mean something.
I think with adding the War Games perspective to Survivor Series, it makes more sense to go storyline based. Like, it definitely made sense. Bloodline, definitely made sense. Taking down the Judgment Day. So those have always made sense. Or back when it was in NXT, UE versus the other members of NXT. I just like Eddie said, the NXT invasion. It just felt so good because that was kind of the point where NXT wasn't just developmental anymore. It could stand on its own. And yes, technically it shows as being developmental, but NXT can do what Raw and SmackDown do. And I don't know if you guys have ever done your own fantasy booking, but if you look at the rosters and you could kind of pick who's champion, you can come up with some awesome matches. And I think
absolutely
with NXT, being where it is, it doesn't get the same spotlight. Like, it doesn't get to be on the pay-per-views with Raw and SmackDown, so we don't get to see that interaction until people are called up. And so that's why I really liked the brand supremacy aspect of it. But I'm like, give me bragging rights. I'd be okay with that. It doesn't have to be Survivor Series. I just would really like, once a year, what brand comes out on top as the superior one?
Yeah, I think they're right. Bragging rights, or if you give it its own PLE, I think that would be a or something like that. Yeah, and just have them like champion versus champions. Da 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 da. Winner gets, like I said, something else. I think it's a great idea. Yeah, bragging rights.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Brianna, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk wrestling with you, and what a fresh, great perspective. It's great to be able to speak to a knowledgeable wrestling mind. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for giving us some of your time tonight.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate you guys having me. And you're gonna find people who always, want to talk nonsense about it. It's fake. It's always good to find the people who you connect with and have the same passion for it as you. So I definitely appreciate you guys having me on here.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Thank you. We appreciate it. And hopefully this isn't the last time you choose to join us.
There you go. I was literally just about to say that. It definitely was super fun to get your perspective on things, and I'm glad that I'm not the bad guy when it comes to AEW talk. So I feel a little bit better because you are a fan of it, and yet you feel the same. So I feel
well. That's the thing is we can obviously see that she's a fan, so that's great.
Yeah. So, Brianna, you have yourself a wonderful evening and safe travels to Mexico.
Right? Yes, have a safe trip, please. Yes. Please.
So nervous?
No, don't be nervous. It'll be fun. Just, don't make eye contact and just enjoy the resort. Stay in the resort and don't go anywhere else.
Yeah. Keep your butt on the resort if you can. Yes.
Oh, no.
Eye contact, smile
Mexican
everywhere.
Town. We're in a little Mexican town, so it's not a resort, but I appreciate the well wishes. And again, it was great talking with you guys. And, hopefully we can do this again, after some major twists and turns happen in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's not going to end anytime soon.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
That'd be the end of the world.
Just hit us up on the gram and be like, hey, we got to talk about this. And we're like, hey, we'll make some time happen and we'll definitely get it going again.
Absolutely.
All right. Definitely can't wait.
All right. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Oh, that was fun.
That was great, dude. That was great. She knows her shit. That's awesome,
Bro,
that was
it's
fantastic.
crazy. Yeah, the way that she
Awesome.
was like talking on IG, I was like, whoa, like how long have you been watching? Like,
No, she's knowledgeable. I mean, she was throwing questions to us and breaking it down and stuff like that. She's like, I'm not trying to keep you guys, but she kept going. Like, yes, no, it's fine. Let's talk wrestling. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, and she straight up said, like, oh, please, like at any point, just if you feel like you need to stop me, just stop me because I could keep going for hours. And
I mean, we all could. At this point, we're feeling for our listeners at this point, just to be like, hey, sorry we're dragging us. Like, hey.
No, but it was all good, and we got a lot more exciting stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. We have to get a lot more into this Cena heel turn because we're talking about one of the biggest things in wrestling, and you know, I mean, because we covered the whole pay-per-view last time, or PLE and everything last time, we only got to touch for a minute. We got a few minutes into it today, but I really want to delve into what this means for wrestling moving forward at some point. So I can't wait to do that with you and just go from there.
Yeah, brother, it's gonna be great.
Fantastic.
All right, man. Well, as always, you know what to do, Primo.
I waited for you this time. Everybody, thank you all kindly. We appreciate you watching and listening, and we will see you when we see you.
We will see